I am a proponent of the dark arts. I'm not Voldemort. I'm not out here practicing them all the time. But I'm like that weird guy in Diagon Alley that's kind of selling shit to the, to the, not the Voldemorts of the world, but like, the other sketchy people, right? That put an extra filter on the lens to make it a little darker every time I'm in the scene. You know, I'm a family friend of the dark arts. You know this. We love Neil Malpai in this family. We love, the other players that just, Jamie Vardy, they get under your skin, right? They find a way to win outside of the rules of the game, not in an illegal way, but just in a way that requires creativity, a sharp wit, and some brass balls. That's what we love to see. And somehow, in July, we have gotten that from Tottenham against Arsenal in Hong Kong. Some absolutely fantastic, examples. And then, of course, some examples that aren't real that people thought were real, which was maybe my favorite thing on the entire internet. But here's the match. Here's the score. 1-0. Tottenham. They won some Herbology Cup in Hong Kong as part of a preseason tour. If you're wondering why players are saying they need a day off, it's because they're traipsing around the entirety of the globe in July to prepare for the season, allegedly, when the jet lag alone is probably undoing any productive training that they're actually accomplishing in the first place. I don't know that for sure. I just feel like it's true. But the match itself, it had some moments. The first of which I find absolutely ridiculously hilarious. Here we have, I believe, Pedro Porro trying to throw the ball in for Tottenham. And he is walking up the side, at which point he runs into a manager who's quickly becoming one of the biggest, I don't know if this word translates, but in the United States, I would call him a douche. Maybe a melon, a lemon, something like that. I don't know. Mikel Arteta. Because Pedro Porro, he's trying to find a throw-in, right? He's walking down the side, and then you see emerge into the screen Mikel Arteta, who's standing there, and then very, 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 very rightfully, like Porro just, hey man, move out of the way. And then Mikel Arteta's, upset about that. But there's a technical area, right? There are dotted lines here that you're supposed to be behind. And if you're not behind them, then you're doing something wrong. Now, obviously, coaches leave those all the time, but if you were quite literally affecting the play, you've no right to be mad in this situation. But Mikel Arteta's like trying to square up with Pedro Porro and then immediately leaves his technical area again. And now he's trying to tell the referee that Pedro Porro is supposed to go back in the first place. Which, look, I get. But everybody on both teams, the entire match is taking throw-ins 15 feet, 20 feet away from where the ball actually went out. That's just how the game works. And unless it's egregious and really affecting the game, the referee's not going to slow the pace of the game down to make somebody move back when they're probably going to try to move back half that way anyways. You're going to end up handing out a card. It's going to turn into a whole thing. It's all in that subjective game management for referees. They're like, obviously, you can do a little half-ass, well, he's supposed to go back over there. But now we've got Mikel Arteta and Pedro Porro like running into each other on the side, and the ref trying to hold Mikel Arteta back. This kind of reminds me of a Pep Guardiola or a Jose Mourinho type reaction. I feel like both of them would have reacted very similarly to this. But there's a big difference between those two guys in Mikel Arteta. Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho have a validation for how they act, right? Achievements don't lie, right? If the whole goal is to win something and you've won a lot of something, nobody can argue with that, right? And but having, maybe this is just a pet peeve, having an attitude when you haven't earned it relative to like the environment itself, and that always bothers me more, right? I know Michael Jordan said if you can talk shit when it's even score, then I respect you more. But if you can talk shit after you've got the trophies jangling in your back pocket, I feel like that carries weight. That's kind of the whole point of this video, the shit talking that's going back and forth in this situation. There's another clip from the match that has nothing to do with what I wanted to talk about, by the way. I just think it's outrageous. Christian Romero he picks the ball up here in his own box, and he's going to nutmeg Kai Havertz so hard that Havertz actually slide tackles the guy behind Christian Romero. So this was just a tough day for Arsenal. You got Mikel Arteta kind of looking like an egg. You've got Kai Havertz fouling the wrong guy on a slide tackle attempt, right? It was just bad day at the office. Who gives a shit? It's in Hong Kong. Well, Richarlison all of a sudden hops on Instagram and he posts a picture, right, holding the Hong Kong Football Festival trophy and his Man of the Match award and tagging Gabriel, Gabby Magalhaes, obviously a player for Arsenal. This is great. I love this. Richarlison, for once, while playing for Tottenham, has the leg up here. Right? They won the trophy. They won a trophy last season. Arsenal didn't. They won, a European trophy last season. This wasn't the Czech trade. It wasn't even the League Cup. They won a whole European trophy last season. And now they show up in the preseason in Hong Kong and they win another trophy. And even if it's a stupid trophy, even if it's the Hong Kong Football Festival trophy, you went out and played a game and they won and you didn't. And I've always been a proponent that you can celebrate any way that you want when you do that. And Richarlison pulled that off. But I got to give a lot of credit to Gabby Magalhaes. Excellent response. Posted a story of his 3 Player of the Match awards in the Premier League, all against Tottenham, and tagged Richarlison. Excellent. This is tit for tat. I'm on both of their sides here. This recovers a lot of aura for Arsenal. You can't take this lying down. You can't take it lying down. Tottenham was the little brother in this for a long time. Now they're not. Now they're piping up. And Richarlison is obviously somebody that loves to stir the pot. He has always been somebody that loves to stir the pot. This is an appropriate response. I feel like at a certain point, you just stand up, and I've said this in shit-talking competitions before. Both of them stuck the landing here. Now, obviously, it's Richarlison that ends up with the trophy. But both of them, they both had some to flex, and they found it. They leaned into it. It's like, in a boxing fight or an MMA fight when both of them land a punch, and then you can kind of see the two fighters go, all right, I see you. This is an hors d'oeuvre. This is an appetizer for what's coming for the rest of the season when we have Tottenham and Arsenal going at it again. But there's more. Richarlison then goes into William Saliba's comments and says, you look a bit skinny, bro. You should try lifting some trophies. This was tweeted out by the European lad. Now, obviously, I wanted to go make sure that this was true, so I went to Instagram to try and find this, and all I found was, so we all here looking for Richarlison's comment. Where's Richarlison's comment? Anyone else here looking for Richarlison's comment? It's fake. It's fake for engagement. Don't fall for this shit. This is fake for engagement. It happens. He got 75,000 likes on this. Honestly, I've never found somebody that runs a Twitter account about football at all that's anything other than just annoying. I don't know if you're a terrible person if you do this. You're just making up shit, spreading, false information. Probably, making Richarlison's life a little weird because now he's got a bunch of friends saying, hey, great comment, dude. William Saliba's probably checking his own comments to make sure that this one wasn't there because he's getting ready to respond. Right, but these people that run these Twitter accounts don't care about that. They're just trying to make whatever it is, like 2 cents from a Twitter post. Twitter didn't pay you anything, right? They're just looking for the dopamine hit of getting a bunch of likes. I don't know. It's just very cringy, weird, annoying behavior from basically everybody that runs these sorts of Twitter accounts. They weren't even the only one that tried to slam dunk on this. There was another one that made up another set of comments. This one's, more obviously fake, right? Just bizarre tactics. I think it might just be a parody account, so I'm not going to go with them. But going into Gyokerish's reply comments and saying strikes confidence into defenders, stoppable on his day. But I mean, even though this was fake, I kind of wish Richarlison did it. I'm not going to lie to you. But this is your PSA to be very wary of this sort of stuff, particularly on Twitter, because Twitter is just a cesspool of humanity. Basically, everything that you see on there is not going to be true, and you should confirm from some outside source before you form an opinion on it. But the majority of the people that liked this are probably never going to know that it was fake, and they're going to think that Richarlison absolutely nailed William Saliba to a wall with this comment. But you know what? Even though it was fake, it's true. Arsenal's the one on the clock now. And even though Ange is not even there anymore, There is a new aura. There is a new era at Tottenham Hotspur where they're a team that can and has just won trophies, that is winning these matches, that instead of being laughed at is laughing at other people. It's like a Dark Knight Redemption where the kid that gets bullied all of a sudden becomes the bully, and now Arsenal fans are left pointing at Player of the Match awards instead of trophies. No matter how stupid that trophy is, they don't have any rings or trophies to point at. You got to circle the Player of the Match awards in order to make it happen. But most importantly, thank goodness this is happening. Forget the fake tweets. Football needs more of this. This is harmless, fantastic banter. This is Richarlison walking by the Arsenal fans, cupping his ear. One of the biggest complaints about modern football and the way that it works now is that there is no personality. There's no personality left in the players, in the play, and in the play, I don't really know how to fix that. Because the game's been so finely tuned and the players run so much, there just isn't time and space for the kind of creativity that we've seen 25 years ago from Ronaldinho or whatever. That there just isn't as much time on the ball to be able to do that sort of stuff. And the operation of teams and tactics is more mechanical. But the least you can do is keep the personality of the players intact off the pitch or between the whistles, because that also makes the game great. Richarlison is an above-average player. He's not spectacular. He has spectacular moments, but he is a lightning rod. He does this sort of stuff. He stirs the drink, and he's able to take on a larger-than-life status because of it, more so than a lot of the other people that play on Tottenham that could maybe match his ability level, but they can't match, for lack of a better term, his aura. We need more people like Richarlison, and fair play to Gabby, obviously, for the response, like I said. They should start a commission at FIFA to encourage more trash talk. Please.